today. Oft we fail to see the rainbow up in heaven's fair sky, when it seems the fortunes of earth frown and pass us by. There are things we know they are worth more than silver and gold. If we hope and trust Him each day, we shall have pleasure untold. Sing happy, press on to the goal. Trust in Him, believe to He will keep your soul. Let the ball be faithful, look to Him and pray. Lift your voice and praise His song. Sing and be happy today. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we no less haste to sing God's praise than when we first begun. If the skies above you are gray, you are feeling so blue. If your cares and burdens seem great all the whole day through, there's a silver lining that shines in the heavenly land. Look by faith and see it, my friend. Trust in His promises grand. Sing and be happy, press on to the goal. Trust in Him, believe to He will keep your soul. Let the one away be faithful, look to choose.
Good morning. Oh, and we are glad to be here this morning. Our week is going by rather quickly. It is now Wednesday, September the 21st, and so is our year, as you can tell. Wednesday, September the 21st, 2022. And we have some, I think, some exciting reading today, in that it's always a good day when you can read from the book of Psalms. We have several Psalms to read today, and then we'll conclude with another chapter in Daniel 8, another great chapter of prophecy from Daniel. Day 264 of 365, Psalm 67. More of the Psalms will now appear in our readings, even though the dating of many of them is uncertain. These Psalms are expressions of confidence in God. Psalm 67 is a plea for the name and blessings of God to be known and appreciated all over the earth. Psalm 123. Psalm 123 expresses the need for the mercy of God. Psalm 130. Psalm 130 is a plea for God to hear and forgive so the people could hope. Psalm 137. Psalm 137 specifically mentions Babylon as their place of captivity and grief. And then we conclude today's reading with Daniel chapter 8, verses 1 through 27. In Daniel 8, the prophet has his vision of the ram and the he-goat. 2 years after chapter 7, the ram refers to Medo-Persia, verse 20, and the he-goat refers to Greece, verse 21. These two kingdoms correspond to the second and their kingdoms of Nebuchadnezzar's dream in chapter second and third, the kingdoms of Nebuchadnezzar's dream in chapter 2. Psalm 67. Psalm 67, verses 1 through 7. And on these psalms, we'll always read the superscription, where these are not inspired, but they are very ancient in date, been around for a long time, and many times they add to the understanding or the context of the psalm. To the choir master, with stringed instruments, a psalm, a song. May God be gracious to us and bless us and make us His face to shine upon us. Selah. And I'm going to go ahead and say Selah is basically like a musical pause or a rest. And so many of these psalms were set to sing, and we even sing some of these even today. And so this was a rest in the music, rest or pause in the psalm. Start again. May God be gracious to us and bless us, and make His face to shine upon us. Selah. That your way may be known on earth, your saving power among all nations. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you. Let the nations be glad and sing for joy. For you judge the peoples with equity and guide the nations upon earth. Selah. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you. The earth has yielded its increase. God, our God, shall bless us. God shall bless us. Let all the ends of the earth fear Him. Psalm 123. Psalm 123, verses 1 through 4. A song of ascents. To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of the servants look to the hand of their master, as the eyes of a maidservant to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, who has mercy upon us. Have mercy upon us, O Lord, have mercy upon us, for we have had more than enough of contempt. Our soul has had more than enough of the scorn of those who are at ease, of the contempt of the proud. Psalm 130. Psalm 130, verses 1 through 8, a song of ascents. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. O Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to the voice of my pleas for mercy. If you, O Lord, should mark iniquities, O Lord, who could stand? But with you there is forgiveness, that you may be feared. I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in His word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than watchmen for the morning. More than watchmen for the morning. O Israel, hope in the Lord. With the Lord there is steadfast love, and with Him is plentiful redemption. He will redeem Israel from all his iniquities. Psalm 137. Psalm 137, verses 1 through 9. By the waters of Babylon, there we sat down and wept, for we remembered Zion. On the willows there we hung up our lyres, for there our captors required of us songs, and our tormentors mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. Let my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth. If I do not remember you, if I do not set Jerusalem above my highest joy. Remember, O Lord, against the Edomites, the day of Jerusalem, how they said, lay it bare, down to its foundations. O daughter of Babylon, doomed to be destroyed, blessed shall he be who repays you with what you have done to us. Blessed shall he be who takes your little ones and dashes them against the rock. Daniel chapter 8, verses 1 through 27. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after that which appeared to me at the first. And I saw in the vision, and when I saw, I was in Susa, the capital, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in the vision, and I was in the Ulai canal. I raised my eyes and saw, and behold, a ram standing on the bank of the canal. It had 2 horns, and both horns were high, but one was higher than the other. The higher one came up last. I saw the ram charging westward and northward and southward. No beast could stand before him, and there was no one who could rescue from his power. He did as he pleased, and became great. As I was considering, behold, a male goat came from the west across the face of the whole earth, without touching the ground. And the goat had a conspicuous horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram with the 2 horns, which I had seen standing on the bank of the canal. And he ran at him on the bank of the canal, and he ran at him in his powerful wrath. I saw him come close to the ram. He was enraged against him, and struck the ram, and broke his 2 horns, and the ram had no power to stand before him. But he cast him down before the ground, and trampled on him. There was no one who could rescue the ram from his power. Then the goat became exceedingly great. But when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And instead of it came up 4 conspicuous horns toward the 4 winds of heaven. Out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the glorious land. It grew great even to the host of heaven, and some of the stars it threw down to the ground and trampled on them. It became great, even as great as the prince of the host. And the regular burnt offering was taken away from him, and the place of his sanctuary was overthrown. The host will be given over to it together with the regular burnt offering because of transgression. It will throw truth to the ground, and it will act and prosper. Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to the one who spoke, For how long is the vision concerning the regular burnt offering, the transgression that makes desolate, and the giving over of the sanctuary and host to be trampled underfoot? And he said to me, For 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary shall be restored to its rightful estate. When I, Daniel, had seen the vision, I sought to understand it. And behold, there stood before me one having the appearance of a man. I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Ulai, and it called Gabriel, Make this man understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was frightened and fell on my face. But he said to me, Understand, O son of man, that the vision is for the time of the end. And when he had spoken to me, I fell into a deep sleep, with my face to the ground. Then he touched me and made me stand up. He said, Behold, I will make known to you what shall be at the later end of the indignation. For it refers to the appointed time of the end. As for the ram that you saw with 2 horns, there are the kings of Media and Persia, and the goat is the king of Greece. And the great horn between his eyes is the first king. As for the horn that was broken, in place of which 4 others arose, 4 kingdoms shall rise from his nation, but not with his power. And at the latter end of their kingdom, when the transgression have reached their limit, a king of bold face, one who understands riddles, shall rise. His power shall be great, but not by his own power. He shall cause fearful destruction, and shall succeed in what he does, and destroy mighty men and the people who are the saints. By his cunning he shall make deceit prosper under his hand, and in his own mind he shall become great. Without warning he shall destroy many, and he shall even rise up against the prince of princes. He shall be broken, but by no human hand. The vision of the evenings and mornings that has been told is true, but seal up the vision, for it refers to many days from now. And I, Daniel, was overcome and lay sick for some days. Then I rose and went about the king's business. But I was appalled by the vision and did not understand it. We read some of the Psalms, and of course some of them lamented at the fact that they were in captivity and that they should always be able to remember what Jerusalem stood for. In Daniel's account, another great account of prophecy, what an amazing prophet Daniel was, how God had instilled with him things that would come about in the future. Daniel, the biggest criticism that the critic who does not believe in the Bible nor God will come with him is that it could not have been written when it was written. And yet we have all kinds of evidence that point to the fact that Daniel was indeed written exactly when Daniel would have lived. The biggest thing that we have is the Septuagint. It is the Greek translation of the Hebrew Scriptures. And all these scholars, roughly 70 of them, came together and they translated the Hebrew to the Greek. They began doing this about 250 BC. And it's about this time also that they included the books that they considered canon of the Old Testament. And yes, indeed, Daniel was always included in this. Therefore, the events that's foretold here way predate what takes place. The ram deals with the Medo-Persian Empire, and of course, once again, as we have said, the Persian Empire was always greater than the side of the Mede part of it. And it was a great kingdom, but it paled in comparison to the kingdom that came afterwards with such great swiftness, described as a he-goat here. And of course, we see also that this he-goat would be the first king of Greece. Without question, historically, that is Alexander the Great. In fact, this prophecy was so perfect in describing the events that would take place that when Alexander the Great was making his rampage and destroying and basically burning and just leveling every city that he came across, he came towards the gates of Jerusalem. The high priest met him at the gates and showed him the scrolls of this prophecy. And as a result, Alexander the Great spared the ancient city of Jerusalem because he realized it spoke of him. Other aspects about this is, once again, that this first king, by the way, the Greeks hated the Persians, and you can read more about history as to why, but it's because the Persians sought to conquer Greece and went into the homeland and did a lot of destruction, and the Greeks never forgot. So it was payback. They wanted to level everything that was about the Persians. But Alexander the Great, obviously, he died without a solidified heir, and as a result, his 4 generals would divide up his kingdom. And none of those kingdoms were ever as great as what Alexander the Great conquered, but yet these kingdoms were significant, especially 2 of the kingdoms, as Daniel will also refer to these as the north and the south. And one of these kingdoms, the north one, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, would arise. Antiochus IV Epiphanes, as he was known, he would arise and he would do just some awful things in Jerusalem. He would have pigs that he would sacrifice in the temple and do other things. And you can read about his death and you'll find that it was not through sword, but it was through a weird disease that killed him. But indeed, he was not as great as he thought he was. Another aspect was he actually really wasn't legitimately the rightful heir. It should have been another, but he took that one's place. And it's amazing how Daniel often reads like history. The only way that could be is that he was inspired by an almighty God who knows all things. We can rest assured as we walk around today and go through our daily activities that our God is a powerful God. He is a mighty God. He's an all-knowing God. He's a God that loves us, that sent His Son to die for us. So God can go with you, or you can be against God. I would hope you choose to be with God, because ultimately, when it all comes down to it, what you do on this earth will matter very little as far as your wealth, as far as your status, as far as the things you accumulate. What will matter is the life you lived. Is it pleasing to God? God has other promises He's promised. He has promised that His Son will return one day. Where do you stand when that day arises? I hope you enjoyed our reading and look forward to you coming back tomorrow as we continue to read in our journey through the Bible.